into Cuba. And of course, southern Florida is picking up some pretty good rain. As we move our way back eastward, though, not a whole lot going on. And the good news is nothing really developing out in the Atlantic as far as storms are concerned. So we'll have all the details, of course, coming up in just a couple of moments. Stay with us. Right now, let's go back over to the news desk. Here's Brissa.
All right, thank you, Joey. Well, there's a mandatory disposition in Puerto Rico that kids ages 5 to 11 get vaccinated and for adults to receive their booster shot. Francis Felix has reaction from a coordinator of a local vaccine clinic on the island.
Voces of Puerto Rico, the Coalition of Immunization and Promotion of Health in the island, reinforces their strategies to get kids vaccinated and adults their booster shot.
This center is specialized in kids like 5 to 11 age. This vaccine is different to adults. Pfizer is Pfizer, and the formulation is different. For the dilutions, it's 1.3. The adult, it's 1.8. This is 0.2 milliliters for the kids. It's equal to adult. It's 2 doses. 20 days apart.
Since you opened, how many kids have been vaccinated?
1,696.
What is the feedback of the parents, their worries about getting their children vaccinated?
So we have 2 parents. One parent that comes and say, I read everything, I'm sure I want this for my kids. But we have the other parents, they say, I don't know nothing about the vaccine. So we have information. We give information to every parent for the vaccine. They have that documents. And we talk about this is the formulation. This is different for the adult.
How has been the reception of the adults with the vaccine and their booster shot?
So we have a good feedback. We have a center of the adults for the vaccine, and we have a full house. Every person come worry about the booster. So we have protocols too to double check if you have the booster or the 3rd doses. Because if you are immunocompromised, you have your 0.5. It is like 3rd dose. If you are like me, I have no any conditions, I have the 0.25, is a half. That's Moderna. It is Pfizer is the same, 0.3. In the cases of Johnson & Johnson, you know, every person can have the booster between 2 months of the doses.
How can people do to get vaccinated?
So we have the 2 centers in Plaza Las Americas. The hours is 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. for both centers. For the adults, it's no appointment required, but for the kids, we have appointment required.
Reporting from Plaza Las Americas, Atorrey, Puerto Rico, Francis Felix.
All right, thank you, Francis. Well, meantime, the Governor General of the Bahamas is calling on residents there to donate their time this Friday in honor of Volunteer T-Shirt Day. Our Deandra Hamilton reports.
Friday in the Bahamas is National Volunteer T-Shirt Day, and this weekend in his Volunteer Bahamas initiative, Governor General Cornelius Smith is asking the country to partner and give, not money, but time to a worthy cause.
And I encourage all Bahamians everywhere, to join them in this worthwhile cause. It is through efforts such as this that we will achieve our goal of inspiring, inculcating, and sustaining a culture of volunteerism throughout our Commonwealth.
You can do it on Saturday, you can do it on Sunday, but the idea is for everyone, no matter their status, to be able to understand the value of lending a hand at any organization which is filling a social need in Bahamian society.
You've heard his impassioned plea to put people together with projects, get our hands dirty if need be, and make the Bahamas a better place. As he said, when we first formed the Governor General Volunteer Bahamas, we developed a tagline that defined our vision, and very simply, Volunteer Bahamas, a call to action.
The initiative was waylaid by the coronavirus pandemic. Now that health protocols are more consistently practiced and the coronavirus positivity rate in the Bahamas has dramatically dropped, it is important that the new normal begins. Plus, it helps that we help out around the holiday season. And there's an app for that.
Efforts to bring together the manpower of Bahamian volunteers around the country that have been doing phenomenal work for a very long time, in the hopes that our efforts could be a bit more coordinated.
And that was our DeAndre Hamilton reporting there. Well, Trinidad and Tobago's parliament has now given the green light to end the state of emergency that was put in place back on May 15th, of course, to help curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country. From midnight on Wednesday, residents will no longer be operating from that 10 to 5 curfew. Now, this is a motion moved by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to revoke the proclamation declaring the state of emergency carried out in the House of Representatives. In the vote, 20 members voted for no member, voted against, and 14 abstained. Prime Minister Rowley said when the state of emergency was called in back in May, the country was in a very different situation. He told legislatures that acquisition of vaccines had helped in the decision to lift the measure.
Now that we are in a situation, Madam Speaker, where we are requiring to place greater emphasis on the individuals in the community to look after themselves, because the government has done virtually everything that the government could do. We have run a parallel health system. Unlike most countries in the world, it has worked very well for us. We've had our healthcare people working overtime for us. And Madam Speaker, we have procured vaccines to the point where, having administered 1.2 million doses, we have in hand 650,000 doses. And we are saying to the population now that we are not now going to be fighting this virus by locking down the country and staying home. We are trying to get our economy to be to breathe life into our economy again, and we will not be restricting persons under a state of emergency as we did at the time when we had no vaccines. And so, Madam Speaker, we have moved from one state to another.
In the meantime, Cuban activist Junior Garcia has arrived in Spain on a tourist visa, a Spanish government official confirmed to reporters on Wednesday. The opposition leader faced possible arrest and trial in Cuba for his role in organizing protests. Patrick Oatman reports.
Ever since trying to organize protests in Cuba at the beginning of the week, Junior Garcia Aguilera, an opposition activist here, had been out of touch. Apparently the government had cut off his communications. The last time I saw him, his house was surrounded by state security agents, police, and government supporters who were lowering flags over the window of his apartment to keep him from communicating with journalists outside. So a number of his fellow activists were quite concerned about his well-being, whether he was detained, under arrest, or, as they said, had been disappeared. So when he showed up on Wednesday in Spain, it was both a surprise and something of a relief to those activists who had been wondering where he was. Garcia Aguilera, to date, has not explained what led him to leave, but he did post on Facebook that we've arrived in Spain, he writes, alive, healthy, and with our ideas intact. We have to thank many people who have made this trip possible. I've been without communication for several days, and I need to find out about the situation of other members of his group called Archipelago. He says very soon he will be telling more about what he calls his odyssey to Spain. The Cuban government has released photos of Garcia Aguilera at the airport in Havana, seeming to indicate, they say, that he was not under arrest or that he was not escorted to the under arrest or that he was not escorted to the under arrest or that he was not escorted to the airport. Garcia Aguilera, though, was facing charges, he told me, from the 11th of July protests that he took place in, that he'd been arrested for. And he said it was very likely that he thought he was going to face further charges for trying to organize these protests that the Cuban government had banned. There are several other people who had been arrested following the protests, and many of his supporters